everyone. My name is Marielle Woods. I am a director and I am an alumni of Salute Your Shorts Film Festival. My most recent short that played there was my film Spin, which I made as part of the AFI Directing Workshop for Women. And I am delighted to be talking today with Izzy. Hello, pleasure to meet you.
What's up? How are you? Thank you so much for chatting.
Good. Yes. So where are you right now? I feel like, first of all, I'll name that I feel like we are in your movie a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't worry, nothing kinky is about to happen.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to say that nothing like that has happened to me during quarantine or before. It's not based on real life. Just want to let everybody know.
It is a very COVID-friendly film, though.
Okay, so the release of the movie is very, very weird. I wrote it 5 years ago. So
wow.
It happened to come out as COVID hit, which obviously is horrible, but very serendipitous and strange timing. So
sure.
I hope it's a little bit more relatable to people now.
Yeah.
But okay, so my location.
This beautiful wooden door behind you, this wallpaper on the ceiling, and what appears to be rock walls.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little tour of my little room. I'm in my grandparents' cottage in an area of England called the Lake District, which is just south of the border with Scotland. So this cottage was built in the 1650s. So here's a nice little lintel. There's like a very ugly lamp. Here is wallpaper on the wall and on the ceiling, just for fun.
Delightful.
And
delightful.
We're outside. Can you see that?
Yes. Wow. Wow, you are winning quarantine.
The funny thing about this is that all of the telephone booths are now defibrillators. Defibrillators, however you say it, in the UK. They don't have telephones. They have things to save your life.
Fascinating. Well, yet another reason why I wish I was there and not here. So tell me about this film. I mean, where did it's used, as you mentioned, it's not a true story. So where did this idea originate from?
Well, my style is oversharing, so I might as well just tell you the truth.
Right. I love it. So is mine.
I messed up my birth control pills. And my hormones went really crazy, and I was seeing a guy who was out of the country, but we just started seeing each other. So I started texting my friend about my predicament because I was very eager to see him. And she's like, just Skype him, because Skype was still a thing. As I said, I wrote it 5 years ago. And I was like, I can't do that. We haven't done that in real life. And she's like, oh, that's a short film. So then I went and wrote it.
Yeah, what I love so much about the film is I actually wrote down the words, what a reveal, and then I wrote, and another one. The way that you kind of the sudden disrobing of your character and then the sudden reveal of the male character and what he's doing. How did you conceive about those kind of aha moments?
I don't remember, honestly. I think I had a friend who was reading the script, and I kind of wrote a polite version of it, and he's like, listen, if you're gonna do this, just go for it. And I was like, okay. So then I just wrote things that were more and more and more absurd. And I think something that's really interesting to me, I've been single for a very long time and have had all these incredibly bizarre experiences.
Sure.
And so I write about it because, I know about it. And I think the performance of sex and sexuality is really interesting to me. And it's not like one gender does it and another gender doesn't. Everybody's constantly grappling with how to present yourself to somebody else in a really intimate moment. What's the right time? What are you comfortable with? Do you want to push your boundaries? Do you not want to push your boundaries? And I wanted to write this character who was experimenting, who was trying to find what fit her.
Love it.
And in the process, realized that actually I'm super uncomfy, but I'm already doing it, so I have to follow through. And she put this guy in a position where, you know, he's not ready for that either, but he's really
Right.
committed to performing, like, him being up for it, you know, and him.
Yeah. There is something about the script and the performances that are very performative of what we expect gender roles to be.
Right.
And so that was really interesting to me about the relevance of how a woman is supposed to be on a sexy FaceTime call and how a man is supposed to respond.
Yeah.
And to your point, that you know, I'm queer and I can say that, like, it, you know, gender roles be damned, but in the version of the movie you showed us, it did feel very performative in that way. And I was curious about, you know, you perform in it. What was the process of directing yourself, directing the other actor? How did that all work for you?
Yeah, so obviously we shot one side and then the other. We shot his side first and then my side. And it took me a really long time to figure out how to shoot it, because I wanted it to look like we were just on the call. I wanted it to look like we were just, you know, on this Zoom call right now watching it, and it to be really realistic and immersive. And so a producer friend of mine suggested that we use an iDirect, which is something that people use a lot for sort of corporate infomercials, or like as like a teleprompter-esque thing. It's essentially a box with a mirror in it that attaches to the end of the lens, so that I can be, you know, if I'm the actor, you're the camera, I can look directly into the camera. There's an actor standing onto the side of the camera, but with the mirror, the two actors can actually see each other.
Cool.
Because so much of the piece is about us reacting innately to each other. So it's such a personal and like minute kind of piece that, not piece, it's a little movie.
Sure.
That was super important to me. So it took me a while to figure that out. And this is the first thing I've ever directed, actually. I'm an actor, like I'm trained as an actor.
Wow.
And I'm, transitioning into writing and directing my own stuff now, and I'm really enjoying it. So it was a relief that it was only a couple of camera setups. You know, I made it just mainly for myself, just to practice. And then it happened to work, which honestly was a surprise. I was made it with a bunch of friends, and I came in with ideas, and I tried the ideas, and then I just said, guys, you know, like, throw things at me. Like, what am I missing? What's the other version? I mean, I've done the different versions that I can think of. What are you seeing? And it was really a collaborative project, and it felt really, really nice to do it like that.
Did you have anyone directing? Were you self-directing yourself while you were performing? I know that's always such a hard thing to do.
Well, like, that's the cardinal sin of actors, is like when you get in your head and you start being like, no, but it's supposed to be, you know, because you're supposed to be just like, the supposed to is actually just being yourself and reacting. So it's quite difficult. No, I mean, I think like I said before, I followed through with the versions that I thought were appropriate. You know, I'd rehearsed with Sean Patrick McGowan, who's the other actor. He goes by Patrick. We'd rehearsed before, and then I prepped with a master friend of mine just to figure out the tone, because I really think I found the tone when I just was honestly being myself, where like I was reacting in a way that thank God I'm not that stupid, I don't think, but if I was in that situation, I would be that uncomfortable, and I would sort of like parry and try to shift around to try to make it okay, you know?
You touched a little bit on, as a actor and filmmaker, your feelings about sex and sexuality and how we portray those on film, and I'd love to talk more about that. I'm a big proponent of more sex positivity on screen. I personally think that as Americans, we especially are like, whoa, no, but I loved how casually, There was partial nudity in certain ways. There was, we're dealing with like very kind of visceral sex acts in a very accessible way. And I'd love to know your philosophy as an artist about the portrayal of that, acting that, filming that.
Well, I'm half English and half American, and I have to say, I gravitate towards dating people who aren't American because there is a thing in the US about sex. Like, it's like a step that you achieve, and it's like, and it's a kind of a fit, it's like I don't know, I'm not being articulate about it, but.
No, I totally know what you mean. Did
you grow casualness. Up?
Where did you grow up?
It's a long story. I grew up in London, New York, and LA.
Wow, okay.
But I've also lived in Paris. So
cool, no big deal.
Not for that long. I actually think I might spend September in Lyon because why not?
I'm coming to join you.
Okay, yeah, come. But I think there's a sense of comfort and ease, and also just like seeing each other as just people in Europe and in other countries too. Whereas I think in the US there's an energy where it's like you're a woman and I'm a man, and there's a innate discrepancy and distancing, and dating is also a thing that's very American. I think in I'm making these huge generalizations, and
sure, of
this has been my experience. In other countries you spend time together and then it may progress or it may not, and it's just spending time together as humans and seeing if there's something involved, whereas there, as I said before, like there is a performance of courtship, that people are kind of like trying to shrug off as it like not being a thing.
Yeah,
people don't want it to be formal, but it is it is kind of formal. So I just feel honestly a lot more comfortable when I don't feel the pressure to need to follow those steps. And so in terms of filmmaking, I haven't personally done a lot of sexual things on camera. This was probably the most graphic thing that I have done.
As an actor, you mean?
As an actor and a director, because I'm new at it. I'm really excited about these intimacy coordinators and everything they're bringing to the camera, because I think specificity in all storytelling is key. And I think because sexuality isn't really a thing that people are comfortable talking about, specifically in the US, it's been these generalized sort of like gliding shots with like, smoke in the foreground and like a gentle caress, and then you cut away and it's like, it's not true, it's not hot, and it's not furthering the story.
Oh yeah, and it's confusing the heck out of adolescents who are like, wait a minute, this is not what the movies made it look like.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm feeling things downstairs, but like I don't understand what's happening, know? So anyways, I for example, Normal People, have you seen Normal People?
Yeah, great.
I think that is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, and the way that they use sex and the ways in which those two characters connect physically is so powerful and so truthful about relationships that are emotionally really, really intimate.
Sure.
So I experimented with that in my film in a comedic way, and hope to continue doing that.
And are you looking to do more directing now? Have you wet that whistle and now you're like, oh, I want more?
Yeah, no, totally. I had a short that I was supposed to be directing in May, but that obviously didn't happen. And now there is a mockumentary that I have in my head. I won't tell you, but I'd like to make that next.
Let it be set at the cottage. Please let it be set at the cottage.
There was an idea that it would be set in Scotland, but delightful. I think that might not be happening. The other option is a farm in Colorado if my friend lets me shoot there.
Cool. I mean, you have a beautiful location at your disposal right now. I'm like, point a camera at that.
Yeah, maybe I should. Well, I'm quarantining with my father, so
Oh,
To do like a father-daughter comedy. I don't
in a
know.
cottage in rural
I want to talk
England,
about one
that
more thing about
is
the film, which is
incredible.
the ending, the kind of like hilarious freezing on him before allowing him to say what he's about to say, and what talk to me about that choice and about that kind of like that punch of an ending.
Well, I wrote the ending about, I don't know, 20 different times. I had a lot of different versions of the ending. And I actually, another add-on that I was going to have was basically the call drops, because the idea is that the call drops. It's not that I cut him off, it's that like his service disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So the call drops, and then I look over and I go, "Mom," as if my mom is standing next to her the whole time, which adds a layer of disgusting. But people are like, it's kind of funny, but I kind of don't get it, and I think it's confusing. So I cut that. But all the other endings, there was just like a lot of slack, you know, like it didn't add anything. It wasn't clear. So I just thought if I ended it with still a massive question mark, then that's truthful, you know?
Sure. What do you want audiences to walk away from this movie thinking, feeling, or talking about?
Well, as I said, this hasn't specifically happened to me, but this kind of situation, like the feeling that you get when you watch it, that like unbearable discomfort, I just really wanted to impart and inflict on an audience, because I just don't think it's fair that I felt it so many times. So I just felt like showing that.
Cool. Okay, and then the last thing is just give them a clean introduction of who you are and what your movie's called.
Okay. Hey guys, my name's Izzy Shill. My movie's called To Facetime.